For centuries, humans had been the caretakers of the galaxy. From the small blue planet called Earth, they reached out to alien civilizations with offers of help, friendship, and guidance. Humans healed worlds struck by disease, shared technology to improve living conditions, and mediated disputes that had lasted for millennia. They had become known as the kind species, the ones who would never say no, the ones who would always try to do what was right. But even the kindest hearts can grow heavy with the weight of constant giving. On Earth, the leaders of humanity sat in the Grand Council, a massive chamber high above the glittering cityscape. Holographic screens displayed star maps, charts of resources given, lives saved, and planets aided. Each screen told the story of decades of tireless work that humans had undertaken without complaint, yet now seemed to be taken for granted. "Enough," said Chancellor Aaron, standing at the center of the chamber. His voice was steady, but there was a fire in his eyes. "We have given too much. We have sacrificed too long, and yet every effort, every act of kindness is met with expectation, not gratitude. Our people grow weary. Our planet is stretched thin. I say it now, humanity will no longer serve as the galaxy's charity. Enough." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Some council members gasped. Others looked down at the floor. None dared speak immediately. The word enough hung in the air like a bell tolling the end of an era. Admiral Kira, known for her calm demeanor and sharp intellect, finally spoke. "Chancellor, are you suggesting that we abandon our allies? That we stop helping those in need?" Aaron shook his head. "Not abandon, not stop helping. We will help, but on our terms, and only when respect and fairness guide the actions. We will no longer allow our kindness to be exploited. For centuries, humans have been called the weak, the naive, the forgiving. That ends today." The room erupted in debate, voices overlapping in passionate disagreement. Some feared the repercussions, imagining alien worlds in chaos without human guidance. Others felt relief, a long-suppressed hope that Earth could finally breathe. The council debated for hours, the stars outside glittering silently, unaware of the storm brewing within the human heart. Finally, a decision was made. The declaration was broadcast across the galaxy. Humans will no longer act as the universal peacemakers. Humanity has declared enough. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Some civilizations laughed, unable to believe that humans, whom they had long seen as gentle and predictable, could refuse their pleas. Others trembled, fearing the consequences of a species they had underestimated. Ships turned toward Earth with uncertainty. Diplomats sent urgent messages, some pleading, some threatening. On the planet's surface, life continued, but with a new undercurrent of tension. Cities thrummed with activity, but citizens sensed a shift in the air. People had grown used to being the helpers, the ones others leaned on. Now humans themselves would lean on each other, and they would no longer be the quiet, forgiving species the galaxy thought it knew. Captain Ryland stood on the observation deck of the flagship Valor, watching as alien fleets blinked in distant orbit. His brow was furrowed. "Admiral Kira," he said, "do you think they understand what we mean by enough? Or will they see it as a threat?" Kira leaned beside him, her arms crossed. "They will test us. That is what all civilizations do. They assume strength is brute force, not resolve, not strategy, not unity. They will learn soon enough that humans are not weak. Not anymore." Meanwhile, on distant worlds, the news spread like wildfire. On the water-covered planet of Lumeris, the Council of Elders debated furiously. "Humans cannot abandon their duties," said Elder Varro, his tentacles trembling. "They are the balance of the galaxy. Without them, we will collapse into chaos." But others disagreed. "Perhaps this is long overdue," said Elder Sira. "They have been exploited for centuries. We have relied on them too much. It is only fair they decide for themselves." The galaxy was divided. Some species underestimated humans as always, seeing the declaration as a bluff. Others took precautionary measures, readying fleets and defenses, not wanting to risk human anger. For humans, it was a time of uncertainty, but also a time of quiet determination. Back on Earth, citizens gathered in plazas and parks, watching the skies and the broadcasted messages. Children asked their parents if humans were going to war. Parents shook their heads. "Not war," they said. "We are standing up for ourselves. We are saying we matter too." Among the humans, there were whispers of pride tinged with fear. For the first time, the galaxy would see humanity not as caretakers but as equals, and perhaps they would see them as something more, something dangerous, something powerful. Admiral Kira called a meeting of Earth's military leaders. "We must be ready," she said. "They will not understand our message at first. Some will retaliate, some will try to provoke us. We must respond not with blind aggression but with precision, with intelligence, and with unity. Humanity has been underestimated for too long. That ends now." Captain Ryland spoke again, his voice low but firm. "And our fleets, Admiral? Are we prepared for battle?" Kira's eyes narrowed. "Prepared? Perhaps not fully. But humans adapt. Humans survive. And when cornered, humans fight like nothing else in this galaxy. We have history, technology, and a unity they cannot comprehend. They have tested our kindness for centuries. Now they will test our resolve. And they will fail." As night fell over Earth, a sense of anticipation spread across the planet. It was a strange feeling, part fear, part excitement. For generations, humans had sought peace, had helped countless civilizations, had extended themselves to the stars. Now, for the first time, they were taking a step solely for themselves. In the skies above, satellites and defense systems hummed softly, a reminder that humanity was not defenseless. On the ground, scientists and engineers continued their work, creating new technology that combined human ingenuity with lessons learned from alien science. Every day, humans were quietly preparing for the possibility of conflict, not because they desired it, but because they knew it might come. Children played in fields, unaware of the political storms brewing beyond their world. Elderly humans walked through quiet streets, remembering a galaxy that had relied on their kindness. And in council chambers, in military command centers, and in laboratories, humans made plans. Plans not for domination, but for respect. The first skirmishes would come unexpectedly, in distant systems where humans had helped for centuries. Aliens who had grown accustomed to passive kindness would attempt to exploit human hesitation. They would send fleets, launch attacks, and test humanity's resolve. But humans, for all their history of giving, had learned one lesson clearly. Kindness must be paired with strength, or it becomes weakness. And so, as the twin suns of Earth set on the horizon, casting golden light over a planet tired but determined, humanity waited. They waited not with fear but with purpose. They had declared enough. They had chosen to stand for themselves, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. The galaxy had never truly seen humans as anything more than gentle mediators. For centuries, humans were the ones who healed wounds, solved disputes, and offered technology to civilizations that could not advance on their own. Their kindness had been their greatest strength, but now that strength had a new edge. When Earth broadcasted its declaration of enough, a ripple of confusion spread across the stars. Many alien worlds could not comprehend it. How could a species so committed to peace suddenly refuse to serve? How could they declare boundaries after centuries of giving? Some dismissed the message as a bluff, believing humans would never risk conflict. Others, more cautious, began readying defenses, suspecting that this enough was the first sign of a new, dangerous ambition. On the outer rim of the galaxy, the Sirath cluster, known for its aggressive trade networks, was among the first to respond. The Sirathi, a towering species with sharp claws and a reputation for ruthless expansion, had often relied on human technology to stabilize their own territories. Now they felt insulted by the declaration. To them, humans were expected to comply with any request, and the sudden refusal was an affront to their pride. Fleet Commander Voss, standing on the bridge of the Sirathi flagship Talcor, clenched his fists. They think they can defy us? Humans, a soft, fragile species? I will show them what happens when they refuse our demands. He gave the order, and the Talcor surged through hyperspace toward one of the human colonies on the edge of the Sol system. Their plan was swift and decisive: strike first, intimidate humans, and reclaim control over what they considered owed favors. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Kira studied the star maps in the command center aboard the flagship Valor. Alerts flashed as sensors picked up a massive incoming fleet. "It seems the first challenge has arrived," she said, her tone calm but firm. "Prepare all defense protocols. This will not be a negotiation. They are testing our resolve." Captain Ryland, standing beside her, nodded. "Do they really think we will back down? After everything? After centuries of giving?" Kira's eyes gleamed. "Let them come. They will see that humans are not fragile. They are resilient, cunning, and united. That is a lesson the galaxy is about to learn." The human fleet mobilized swiftly, Though their public image emphasized peace, the reality was far different. For decades, humans had quietly strengthened their defenses, training their fleets not only for protection, but for strategic combat. Earth's engineers had developed new ships, blending speed, agility, and advanced weaponry. Every vessel was built to adapt, every crew trained to think creatively under pressure. As the Sirathi fleet entered human-controlled space, their confidence was palpable. They assumed humans would retreat. That fear would force compliance, but the humans held position. The Valor, with its sleek design and reinforced shields, led the fleet, its engines humming with controlled power. Fleet Commander Voss was the first to fire. Energy beams streaked across space, aimed at human satellites and outer defenses. The attack was precise, calculated to cripple communication and supply lines. For a moment it seemed the humans might be overwhelmed, but humans fought back, not with brute force alone, but with intelligence and improvisation. Human ships moved in unpredictable patterns, using gravitational anomalies and asteroid fields for cover. They had studied the Sirathi extensively, learning the strengths and weaknesses of their technology and tactics. What seemed like chaos to the enemy was actually a carefully orchestrated strategy. Captain Ryland piloted his ship through a narrow asteroid belt, dodging incoming fire while sending a small strike team to disable a key Sirathi command relay. The team, composed of engineers and tactical specialists, moved with precision, infiltrating the enemy system and shutting down their communications. From the flagship bridge, Admiral Kira watched the battle unfold. "Notice how they rely on raw power?" she said, pointing to the display. "That is their weakness. They underestimate adaptability, flexibility, and human creativity. That is why they will fail." Indeed, the humans' unexpected tactics began to shift the battle. The Sirathi, confident in their superior numbers and strength, found themselves reacting to human maneuvers rather than dictating the fight. Every time they anticipated a move, humans had already adapted, turning potential traps into opportunities. On a nearby colony, civilians watched the battle through transmissions, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and awe. Humanity had declared enough, and now they were seeing what it truly meant. Humans were not backing down. They were standing firm, protecting their people and their values with ingenuity and courage. Back on the Sirathi flagship, Commander Voss's confidence began to waver. How are they doing this?" he muttered, watching his fleet falter under the unexpected tactics. "They are unpredictable, adaptive, coordinated in ways we cannot anticipate." A young officer beside him whispered, "They are humans, the ones we called weak. And yet," Voss slammed his clawed hand against the console. "Silence. We will not be humiliated by a species we deemed inferior." Meanwhile, human forces pushed forward, reclaiming control of key outposts that the Sirathi had hoped to dominate. Each victory was precise, carefully calculated, and achieved with minimal collateral damage. Humans were not aggressors, they were defenders of their space and their people. As the battle raged, Admiral Kira reflected on the deeper meaning of the conflict. Humanity had spent centuries teaching the galaxy about empathy, cooperation, and kindness. But kindness had been mistaken for weakness. Now humans were showing that kindness and strength were not mutually exclusive. They could care deeply for others while fiercely defending themselves when necessary. In the final stage of the skirmish, the human fleet executed a daring maneuver. Using a combination of decoys, cloaked ships, and rapid strikes, they surrounded the Sirathi flagship, cutting off its escape routes. Commander Voss realized too late that he had underestimated his opponent. "Signal retreat." Voss barked, but his orders were too late. The Sirathi fleet had been neutralized without total destruction, a testament to human restraint and tactical brilliance. The battle ended with the humans victorious. They had defended their territory, protected their people, and demonstrated a message far greater than any display of firepower. Humans were no longer passive. Humans were a force to be reckoned with. On Earth, the news of the victory sparked celebrations and pride. Citizens cheered not for destruction, but for courage, unity, and ingenuity. Humanity had proven to the galaxy and to themselves that declaring enough was not a threat to peace, but a declaration of self-respect and strength. Admiral Kira addressed her crew aboard the Valor. "Remember this," she said, her voice steady and inspiring. "Our strength does not come from domination, It comes from our unity, our creativity, and our refusal to be exploited. Humanity has always been capable of greatness, but now the galaxy will see it clearly. We are not weak. We are not naive. We are humans, and we will protect what is ours and what is right. Captain Rylan looked out at the stars, the remnants of the Sirathi fleet retreating into the darkness. "Do you think they understand now?" he asked quietly. Kira shook her head with a faint smile. "Some will. Some never will, but it does not matter. They will learn through experience that humans are not to be underestimated. That is a lesson worth teaching." As Earth's fleet returned home, humanity's resolve was stronger than ever. The declaration of enough was no longer just words. It was a promise, a warning, and a statement of identity. Humans had proven that their kindness was not weakness, and that when pushed to defend themselves, they could face the galaxy with courage, intelligence, and unity. And in the shadows of the stars, other civilizations began to take note. They realized that the humans they had once dismissed were no longer just peacemakers. They were warriors, strategists, and visionaries. The first retaliation had ended, but the story of human strength had only just begun. In quiet corners of the galaxy, diplomats and leaders whispered the same question. Could humans, once so kind, now become the most formidable force the galaxy had ever faced? The answer, the humans knew, would come not from fear but from determination. They had declared enough, and nothing would ever make them retreat again. The first skirmish had ended, but the galaxy was far from calm. The Sirathi retreat had sent a ripple of unease across nearby civilizations. Some species, once indifferent to humans, now began to reconsider their assumptions. Others, seeing what had happened, prepared to test humanity for themselves. On Earth, Admiral Kira stood before the Command Council, a holographic star map projected across the room. "The first attack was only the beginning," she said. "Other civilizations will not wait. They will see our stance as a challenge, an opportunity to take advantage. We must be ready." Captain Rylan, leaning against the console, frowned. "Are we ready for a full-scale war? Some of these fleets outnumber ours by 10 to 1. Kira's eyes narrowed. "Numbers are meaningless if strategy and unity guide the fight. Humans adapt. Humans innovate. That is our advantage. The galaxy believes kindness equals weakness. We will show them the truth." Human forces had begun a rapid expansion across the frontier systems, establishing defensive positions and supply lines. Scientists worked alongside strategists to create technology inspired by alien designs, but improved with human ingenuity. Every ship, every weapon, every plan was built to turn disadvantage into opportunity. The next challenge came from the Ve'ari Dominion, a proud and militaristic species that had long relied on intimidation to expand their influence. When they learned of humanity's declaration, they saw a perfect target. "A species that refuses to serve us," said Supreme Commander Loran, his voice echoing in the War Council Hall. "We will teach them obedience." The Ve'ari fleets, sleek and heavily armed, moved quickly, aiming to strike a series of human colonies along the outer edges of the Sol system. They assumed the humans would scatter, retreating to protect Earth while leaving frontier worlds vulnerable. But humans had anticipated such moves. Using intelligence gathered from previous conflicts, they laid traps along hyperspace routes and asteroid belts. When the Ve'ari fleet entered human space, they found themselves navigating a gauntlet designed not just to stop them, but to teach a lesson. Captain Rylan piloted the lead human cruiser through the asteroid field. "They think they can intimidate us," he said. "Let's see how they handle a lesson in adaptability." The human fleet used decoys and feints to draw the Ve'ari forces into tight formations. Cloaked ships, unseen by enemy sensors, struck at critical points, disabling command modules and cutting off supply lines. Ve'ari ships, designed for brute strength, struggled to respond to the unpredictable and flexible human tactics. On one planet, a team of human engineers infiltrated a Ve'ari base, not to destroy it but to capture their communication network. From there, humans broadcast messages showing the Dominion's own weaknesses to their fleets, sowing confusion and forcing them to retreat in disarray. Admiral Kira observed the unfolding events from the Valor's bridge. "Notice how they rely on intimidation," she said to her officers. "They are powerful, yes, but rigid. They cannot adapt. Humans, on the other hand, can turn any situation to their advantage. That is why they will fail." Meanwhile, on Earth, citizens watched the news with a mix of fear and pride. For generations, humans had believed in helping others, even when the cost was high. Now the galaxy was seeing that same species defend itself with intelligence, courage, and unity. In distant star systems, alien leaders whispered about humanity in hushed tones. "They are not what we thought," said one diplomat from the Cretan Empire. "They are no longer simply kind, they are dangerous." The human success was not due to sheer firepower, but to a combination of creativity, teamwork, and psychological insight. They had studied alien cultures for centuries, understanding behavior, strategy, and priorities. Every battle became not just a fight for territory, but a demonstration of human adaptability. Even the Veyari began to recognize the unexpected resilience of humans. Supreme Commander Loran, staring at a display of his fleet in retreat, slammed his fists on the table. How can a species so small and so young resist us so completely? One of his advisors replied cautiously, "Perhaps they are different. They are not like other civilizations we have faced. Their strength is not in their numbers, but in their unity and creativity." The war continued to expand. Other species, seeing the Veyari's failure, attempted to test humanity in their own systems. Fleets from the Arkan Coalition and the Lumeris Confederacy began probing human defenses, sending scouts, spies, and small attack groups. Each encounter revealed the same lesson. Humans were clever, resourceful, and unified. Human commanders, once seen as mere diplomats or scholars, now became legends. Captain Ryland's exploits in the asteroid belts were studied by other human crews, becoming models for adaptive combat. Admiral Kira's strategies were praised not only for their effectiveness, but for the way they minimized unnecessary loss of life while maximizing results. The galaxy began to whisper a new title for humanity, the strategic species. Aliens who had once dismissed them as naive or weak now watched carefully, reconsidering every assumption. On a frontier planet, human soldiers worked alongside engineers to prepare defenses for the next wave of attacks. Though the work was exhausting, morale was high. They were fighting not for conquest but for respect and survival. And every success, every clever maneuver, reinforced their belief in themselves. Captain Ryland paused as he surveyed the fortified colony. "Do you realize what we are doing?" he asked his second-in-command. "We are teaching the galaxy that humans are not just kind. They are capable of anything when they stand together." The officer nodded. "And they will remember it, Captain. They cannot forget humans now." Even amid victories, humans remained vigilant. They knew the war was only beginning. Each success brought attention, and attention brought new challenges. The galaxy had underestimated them for centuries, and now, the species that once gave freely without question was proving that it could fight with unmatched skill and determination. The war also revealed the depth of human innovation. Scientists developed new shielding technology that allowed ships to withstand devastating energy blasts. Engineers designed adaptive weapon systems that could learn and counter enemy maneuvers in real time. Every battle was a test, and every test strengthened humanity's capabilities further. Diplomats from neutral species began to take notice. Some sought alliances, seeing that siding with humans was wiser than opposing them. Others sent emissaries to understand the humans' strategies, hoping to learn the secret of their success. But the humans did not rely solely on intimidation. They combined strength with intelligence and, when possible, diplomacy. Back on Earth, Chancellor Aaron addressed the people. "For centuries, we have extended kindness to the stars. Now the galaxy knows that kindness is not weakness. Humans stand together strong and united. We do not seek unnecessary conflict, but we will defend ourselves, and we will do so with honor and courage." The message was clear. Humanity's declaration of enough was more than words. It was a philosophy, a way of life, and a warning. Aliens could try to challenge humans, but they would find that the species they had underestimated was now fully aware of its own power. As battles continued across multiple star systems, humans proved again and again that strategy, unity, and ingenuity could overcome sheer numbers. They held colonies, repelled attacks, and taught the galaxy that a species known for kindness could also be unstoppable when defending itself. Captain Ryland stood once more on the observation deck of the Valor, looking out at the stars. "It is strange," he said quietly. "For so long, humans gave without expecting anything in return. And now, for the first time, we fight for ourselves, and the galaxy sees that we are not weak." Admiral Kira joined him, placing a hand on his shoulder. They will never forget it. They will never underestimate humanity again, and that is only the beginning. The war may expand, but so will our reputation and our influence. We will show the galaxy that kindness and strength can coexist, and that humanity, once underestimated, is now a force that cannot be ignored. And so, as human fleets continued to move through the stars, defending colonies and repelling attacks, the galaxy began to understand a truth that had been hidden for centuries. Humans were no longer simply the caretakers of the galaxy. They were strategists, warriors, and visionaries. They were united in purpose, adaptable in action, and unyielding in resolve. The war was expanding, but humanity was ready. The first retaliation had been only the opening move. And as they moved from system to system, humans demonstrated that their strength was not in cruelty, nor in domination, but in intelligence, unity, and the courage to stand firm when it mattered most. The galaxy, for the first time, saw humanity not just as kind, but as a species to be reckoned with, a species whose declaration of enough would echo across the stars for generations to come. The war had stretched across multiple star systems. What began as a single act of defiance, humanity declaring enough, had grown into a galactic struggle. Alien civilizations that had once underestimated humans were now scrambling to adapt to a species they had misjudged for centuries. On the bridge of the flagship Valor, Admiral Kira studied incoming reports from the front lines. Humans had repelled Veari attacks, outmaneuvered Sarathi fleets, and foiled ambushes from the Arkan coalition. Each victory, while small in scale, carried enormous weight. Humans were showing that their strength was not brute force, but ingenuity, unity, and adaptability. Captain Ryland stood beside her, watching the holographic displays. "It seems no one expects humans to respond this way," he said. "Every fleet thinks it can outsmart us, and every fleet fails. We are reshaping the galaxy's perception of humanity." Kira nodded. "It is not just perception. It is reality. They have learned that humans are not predictable, that we do not fight for conquest alone, but for strategy, unity, and survival. That is a power they cannot match." The next threat came from the Kalari Dominion, a species known for their technological sophistication. Unlike the aggressive Sarathi or the prideful Veari, the Kalari preferred to dominate through innovation. They deployed advanced warships equipped with adaptive energy shields and stealth systems designed to bypass human detection. The Kalari assumed humans relied solely on strategy derived from observation and analysis, underestimating human creativity and intuition. But humans had learned from every battle so far. They combined technology, psychology, and improvisation to counter the enemy before an engagement had even begun. Aboard the Valor, Kira's officers outlined a bold plan. "We will not confront them head-on," she explained. "Instead, we will divide their forces using decoys and targeted strikes. We will use their own assumptions against them, forcing them into positions where they cannot escape. Our goal is not total destruction, but controlled advantage." Captain Ryland grinned. "Adaptive, clever, precise. That is humanity. Let's show them what that means." In deep space, human fleets executed the maneuver flawlessly. Cloaked reconnaissance ships lured Kalari warships into narrow asteroid fields, where human cruisers, using rapid-fire disruptors, disabled their engines. Automated drones delivered non-lethal EMP pulses to the enemy's command modules, disabling control systems without unnecessary destruction. The Kalari were unprepared for such precision. Back on Earth, Chancellor Aaron watched the reports with satisfaction. "The galaxy has always misunderstood us," he said to his aides. "They thought our kindness was weakness. They believed we would never fight for ourselves. Now they are learning a lesson centuries too late." Even amid the victories, humans remained careful not to be reckless. While they had proven capable of overwhelming power, they focused on restraint and intelligence. Every maneuver was calculated, every engagement strategic. This approach impressed some neutral civilizations, who began to see humans not only as formidable warriors, but as leaders capable of guiding the galaxy with honor. Diplomatic channels opened quietly alongside the battles. Ambassadors from neutral systems sent envoys to Earth, eager to learn the secret of humanity's success. Humans shared knowledge selectively, always demonstrating that strength and kindness could coexist. It became clear that humans did not fight for conquest or cruelty, but for survival, unity, and respect. In the midst of this expansion, human engineers unveiled a new technological breakthrough. Using principles adapted from multiple alien species, they developed the Aegis Shield, a defensive system capable of dynamically adjusting to different energy attacks. The shield allowed human ships to withstand devastating blows while remaining mobile and agile. Admiral Kira oversaw the deployment of these shields in the frontline fleets. "This is more than a defense," she told her officers. "It is a symbol of human ingenuity. Every battle we win strengthens not only our position, but the galaxy's understanding of what humanity is capable of." Captain Ryland piloted his ship into a tense engagement against the Kalari once more. The Aegis shield absorbed enemy fire while human crews maneuvered with precision. Using feints and misdirection, they divided the enemy fleet, forcing ships into vulnerable positions. Within hours, the Kalari were in retreat, unable to adapt to the humans' combined use of technology and strategy. The success sparked celebrations across human-controlled systems. Citizens cheered not for destruction, but for the proof that humanity could defend itself intelligently and decisively. Every colony, every settlement, every soldier and officer understood that humans were no longer passive. They were a species whose resolve could not be shaken, whose unity could not be broken. Back on Earth, Chancellor Aaron addressed the people. "The galaxy has seen our strength," he said. "We have defended ourselves without losing our humanity. We have shown that kindness does not mean weakness, and we will continue to stand united, adaptive, and strong. This is the turning tide." Even among alien civilizations, opinions began to shift. The Sirathi, once arrogant and aggressive, now reconsidered their approach. The Vayari coalition began fortifying its borders rather than expanding recklessly. Even the Kalari, technologically advanced as they were, began sending cautious envoys to negotiate rather than attack. Humanity had redefined the rules of engagement. Human strategists were careful to balance offense and defense. While they demonstrated strength, they avoided unnecessary casualties, focusing instead on demonstrating adaptability and control. Each victory was not only tactical but symbolic, a message that humans were now equals in a galaxy that had long underestimated them. On a remote human colony, Captain Ryland walked among soldiers preparing for the next engagement. "Do you see this?" he asked. "Every move we make, every battle we win, teaches the galaxy that humans are not to be underestimated. Our strength is not just in weapons, but in our unity, intelligence, and creativity." The soldiers nodded, proud but aware of the stakes. They knew the war was far from over, but they also knew that humanity had reached a new level of confidence and capability. The turning tide was not simply a change in battles. It was a transformation in the way humans saw themselves and how the galaxy viewed them. Admiral Kira convened a council with her commanders to plan the next phase. "We have proven that adaptability and strategy work," she said, "but we must remain vigilant. Other civilizations will continue to test us. We must be ready to respond with intelligence, creativity, and resolve." Captain Ryland added, "And we will. Every battle teaches us something new. Every engagement strengthens our unity. Humans are not just reacting. We are shaping the course of the galaxy." Human engineers continued to innovate, creating new weapon systems, communication networks, and defensive measures. Scientists studied enemy technology, adapting it to human needs while improving on it with originality. Every step forward reinforced the idea that humans could thrive not only through kindness, but through intelligence, innovation, and collaboration. As human fleets moved deeper into contested space, they demonstrated a new type of warfare, one where strategy, adaptation, and psychology outweighed brute force. Alien fleets, despite greater numbers and firepower, found themselves repeatedly outmaneuvered and outthought. Even neutral civilizations began to take note. Envoys approached humans not with threats but with cautious respect. Some sought alliances, understanding that the humans' combination of strength and ethical behavior made them ideal partners. Others observed quietly, wary of provoking a species that had proven time and again that it could think faster, adapt better, and act more decisively than any other civilization they had faced. Back on Earth, Chancellor Aaron reflected on humanity's journey. "For centuries we have given freely," he said to his council. "We have healed, helped, and guided others. But now the galaxy understands that giving does not make us weak. It makes us wise. Strength is not the absence of kindness. It is the ability to protect what you value while maintaining your values. That is the turning tide. As stars streaked past the hull of the Valor, Captain Ryland looked out at the galaxy they were defending. "The war is far from over," he said softly. "But humanity has learned something essential. We are not defined by how much we give, but by how we respond when we must stand for ourselves. And when we stand together." Admiral Kira placed a hand on his shoulder, her eyes steady. "The turning tide is more than victories in battle," she said. "It is a shift in the balance of respect, perception, and power. The galaxy now sees humans as a species that will fight with intelligence, unity, and courage. That is a lesson no one will forget. And so, as human fleets continued to move through the stars, defending colonies and repelling attacks, they demonstrated that victory was not only possible, but inevitable for those who combined strategy, unity, and determination. The turning tide had begun, and humanity's influence, respect, and reputation were rising with it. The galaxy, once dismissive of human kindness, now realized a fundamental truth. Humans were not just peacemakers. They were strategists, warriors, and leaders. They could adapt, innovate, and overcome. They had declared enough, and in doing so had begun to reshape the entire galaxy's understanding of strength, intelligence, and unity. The galaxy had changed. The declaration of enough had begun as a single act of defiance by humanity, but it had grown into a conflict that tested the strength, unity, and intelligence of the species. Now, after years of battles, skirmishes, and careful strategies, humans stood victorious, not through sheer force alone, but through ingenuity, coordination, and unyielding resolve. On the bridge of the flagship Valor, Admiral Kira surveyed the star systems that had once been threatened by alien fleets. Human colonies were safe, supply routes were secure, and enemy forces had been forced to retreat or reconsider their positions. Humans had proven that kindness and strength were not mutually exclusive. They could give freely, but they could also defend themselves with unmatched skill. Captain Ryland stood beside her, watching the holographic projections of the galaxy. "It's hard to believe," he said quietly. "Just a few years ago, we were seen as weak, as the species that always gave. And now, look at them. They respect us, or at least they fear underestimating us." Kira nodded. "Fear is only part of it. Respect comes from understanding. They have seen what humans are capable of, how we fight, how we adapt, and how we protect what we value. That respect will shape the galaxy for generations." The aftermath of war brought not only military victories, but political changes as well. Alien civilizations that had once pushed humans for resources, favors, and technology now approached cautiously, often requesting diplomacy before action. They had learned that humans would not be manipulated, and that every attempt to exploit them was met with precise and clever countermeasures. On Earth, citizens celebrated quietly but meaningfully. People understood that humanity's victories were not about conquest or revenge, but about self-respect, unity, and defense of what was rightfully theirs. Schools taught children about courage and strategy. Engineers innovated with lessons learned from the war, and scientists studied alien technology with renewed purpose. Chancellor Aaron addressed the people from the steps of the Grand Council building. "For centuries we have given freely to the galaxy," he said. "We have healed, helped, and guided civilizations that needed our assistance. And now we have shown that our kindness is not weakness. We are humans, resilient, intelligent, and united. We have declared enough, and we have defended that declaration with courage and wisdom. Today we stand not only as caretakers but as equals among the stars." In distant systems, alien leaders reflected on the lessons learned. Some approached humans with renewed cooperation, while others kept their distance, wary of the species that had once been underestimated. The galaxy had witnessed humans at their best, strategic, compassionate, and strong. Captain Ryland visited a forward human colony to meet the soldiers and engineers who had played crucial roles in the battles. Children ran around the compound, curious and energetic, while adults worked quietly, maintaining ships and defenses. "You see this?" Ryland said to the colony commander. "Every life here, every person working, contributes to the strength we've shown. This is what makes humans formidable. Not just our technology or fleets, but our unity, our spirit, and our determination to stand together." The commander nodded. "We fought not just for victory, Captain, but to prove that humans can protect what they love and what they value. And we succeeded. Even former enemies were forced to acknowledge human excellence. The Sirathi, once aggressive and arrogant, had begun sending diplomatic envoys to negotiate trade and peace agreements. The Veeri coalition fortified their borders not as a threat, but to avoid provocation. The Kalari, technologically sophisticated as they were, sent missions to learn from human strategies, hoping to benefit from understanding a species that had outsmarted them repeatedly. Admiral Kira reflected on the broader meaning of the conflict. "We did not fight for dominance," she told her officers. "We fought for understanding, respect, and survival. Humanity has shown that strength is not measured only by the ability to destroy, but by the ability to protect, adapt, and inspire. That is a lesson the galaxy will carry forever." As humans rebuilt and expanded their presence in the galaxy, they also established new alliances with neutral civilizations. These alliances were based on mutual respect and shared goals rather than exploitation. Human diplomacy now carried weight across star systems because it was backed by the clear demonstration of capability and fairness. Captain Ryland stood on the observation deck of the Valor, looking at a star cluster where human forces had once fought fiercely. "It's strange," he said. "For so long, humans believed giving was enough. Now we know that standing up for ourselves together is just as important. We don't lose kindness, we gain strength." Kira joined him silently, watching the stars shimmer. "We are not just survivors," she said. "We are humans. We are adaptable, united, and resilient. The galaxy will remember this era, not for the battles alone, but for what humanity represents. That is our true victory." Back on Earth, young students visited museums and educational centers dedicated to the war. Exhibits showcased not only battles and technology, but also acts of bravery, clever strategies, and moments of selflessness. Children learned that victory was not only about power but about intelligence, unity, and the courage to stand for what is right. In quiet spaces, veterans shared stories with younger generations. They spoke not of destruction, but of the lessons learned, the importance of planning, teamwork, and understanding one's enemy. They emphasized that humanity had succeeded not because it sought revenge, but because it acted with intelligence, morality, and courage. Chancellor Aaron continued to lead humanity into a new era. Plans were made for stronger defenses, better education, and further exploration of the galaxy. Humanity's declaration of enough had set a precedent. Kindness must be paired with strength, and generosity must be balanced with self-respect. Even former rivals acknowledged the change. Alien leaders approached human diplomats with caution and respect, often seeking guidance and partnership. The galaxy had learned that the species once called soft, naive, or forgiving was now a force that demanded attention and respect. Captain Ryland walked through a human colony celebrating the end of the war. Children waved at the ships overhead, while engineers and soldiers shared laughter and stories. "Do you think they understand what we've done?" he asked a young officer. "They understand now," the officer replied. "They understand that humans are not just kind, they are strong, clever, and united. They will remember that for generations." Admiral Kira watched from the command center as fleets returned from distant systems, bringing messages of cooperation and alliance. "This is the result of our journey," she said quietly. "The galaxy sees humans not only as caregivers but as equals, as strategists, and as leaders. We have proven that declaring enough does not make us cruel. It makes us wise, strong, and respected." Humanity's story spread across the stars, inspiring hope and admiration. Civilizations that had once viewed humans as passive mediators now looked to them as examples of resilience and intelligence. The galaxy had learned that kindness combined with strength was an unbeatable combination. Captain Ryland stood on the bridge of the Valor, gazing at Earth in the distance. "We've done more than win battles," he said. "We've changed how the galaxy sees us. For the first time, humans are respected not just for what we give, but for what we protect, what we create, and how we stand together." Kira nodded, "And that respect is enduring. The galaxy will think twice before testing humans again. We have shown that we can fight, adapt, and win, but always with intelligence, strategy, and a sense of purpose." In the quiet aftermath, humans rebuilt their colonies, strengthened alliances, and explored new systems with curiosity and confidence. They continued to offer help to those who needed it, but now with clear boundaries and mutual respect. They had learned the balance between giving and defending, between kindness and strength. The declaration of enough had transformed not just human strategy, but human identity. For generations, humans would be remembered as the species that could give freely, yet also stand firm, adapt, and lead the galaxy with wisdom and courage. Captain Rylan looked at the stars one last time. "We are humans," he said softly. "Kind, yes, but also strong. Clever, united, and resilient. We have proven what it truly means to stand for ourselves, and the galaxy will never forget it." Admiral Kira placed a hand on his shoulder. "We have not only survived," she said. "We have triumphed. Humanity will continue to grow, explore, and inspire. Our declaration of enough was the beginning, and now, our legacy stretches across the stars, and so, humanity entered a new era, respected, admired, and prepared for whatever challenges the galaxy might bring. They had fought not for conquest, but for dignity, for unity, and for the truth that kindness paired with strength was a force unlike any other. The galaxy, once dismissive, now recognized the humans as a species to watch, capable of greatness, resilience, and courage. And Earth, the small blue planet that had given so much for so long, had finally shown the universe what it truly meant to stand tall.